Marketing That Grows Your Business show. Today, we're going to be talking about planning for success for 2022. I know it's not a sexy topic, but I see so many business people who, in some cases, it's a variety of business folks some who've had some success, some have not reached the level of success that they want yet, and some who are still at a really, have a really great business. But what would their business look like if they planned a little bit more efficiently? I've been in all of those buckets. So, from having a successful business and then realizing how much value the plan brought to, upping my business, and then, not really being where I wanted to be. And again, the plan mattered. And then, at the beginning of any new business, I've realized that the plan is so, so important, and specifically the financial plan, because you have to set a goal for that. Otherwise, you just fumble around and you get what you get. And if you do that, it's like I often say this: like you just are getting in the car to go south, and okay, there's like a thousand one ways to get south, right? So the point is, a plan is super, super powerful. So I'm going to break it down, but probably in a little bit of a different light than you might think, because I feel like we should design the business that supports our life and what we want out of life, not necessarily the other way around. So that's going to be our topic for today. I want to welcome you to the show. Today we're going to, like I say, the topic's going to be mapping out your business success plan for 2022. A couple of quick housekeeping things. We love the love around here. So if you know somebody who has a business that we get value out of, and it's some education around planning for their 2022. Feel free to sprinkle this out into the world. Tag them if you know someone specifically that we get value. And we do giveaways on every one of the show. Today is no different. I'm not going to announce the giveaway just yet. I usually do. I announce the giveaway during the course, or usually on the front side of the show. Today, I'm going to do it in the middle of the show, but I want to tell you what it is I'll tell you what it is we're giving away, but I want to tell you how you win. You win by dropping in your aha moments. And an aha moment is like, okay, wow, I needed to hear that, or I didn't know that, and wow, I it's like it's kind of like a deep breath, like, wow, I needed that in this moment. So drop them in with the hashtag aha, and that's how we enter you into the well of wow. We'll announce it at the end, so make sure that you do those things. One thing I've usually do on the front side of the show too is just ask, where in the world is everyone? I forgot to do that this morning, but I want to be totally transparent. I am not live with you in this moment. I pre-recorded this because technically right now I am I am on a plane right now in this time block, headed to Colorado for a ski vacation with my family. So where are you? I'm in the air. I did pre-record this, but it doesn't mean it'll be any less value-based for you. Feel free to ask questions as we go. Rhonda's going to be in the comments. She's going to be here live. She will be live with you. She'll make sure that the winners are picked at the end, and we make sure that you guys get the goodies. I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Restream. If you are looking to go live in all the places at the same time using one tool, then Restream could be an amazing resource for you. It's the one I'm currently using that allows you to brand your shows, pull in your guest comments, a lot of really clever things that makes your live streaming so much easier. We do have a discount. You can try it. Well, we have two things. One, you can try it for free for 7 days. So definitely, it won't hurt. Give it a go. And then we do have a discount code for 25% off for life. You can't beat that for sure. So check those out. Restream has an amazing tool. I think you'll love it. Okay, so I think that's all like the housekeeping things. Like I say, I'm going to announce the giveaways in the middle of the show so that we know, so that you'll know what you could potentially win. But don't forget to drop in your ahas because that's how you win. Okay? Hopefully I got all that. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my screen and we're going to get moving on this. All right, well, hang on. That's part of the screen. It's always something with me. I always seem to hit the wrong buttons at the wrong time. All right, here we go, guys. Again, mapping out the business success plan for 2022. I do have a giveaway for you today. Everybody wins today. Woohoo, right? I have a workbook that I want to gift to you guys. You can go grab it at kimgarst.com/success plan. Um, and it's basically a way to like do the planning part of this. I'm going to go over like all the components of it, but this will be a way for you to write the stuff down because I feel like if you don't write it down, if you don't commit to it, if you can't see it on paper or on, lay out a structure for it, then it doesn't happen. So I want to make sure you grab this. Go to kimgarst.com/success plan. You can do it as we go, download it. You can work with it as we go through today, or you can also go download it after, circle back to it because you may have to think it through a little bit. I want you to spend a little bit of time on this. In fact, that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. Your plan is worthy of your time. I'm just going to say that right now. Okay. So another thing that I think is powerful when it comes to a plan, and this is an age old, I mean, I didn't say this, but it's just chock full of amazing wisdom. You can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. So the first thing that I want to suggest that you do when it comes to taking a deep breath and looking back at what your 2021 looked like. Now, for some of us, 2021 has been a crazy year. I would say even 2020 was a crazy year because of COVID. There's been so much friction and pivoting and, client loss. I mean, there's just been a ton of stuff that has happened during the course of the past year and a half, almost 2 years. It's been a crazy ride. But you also need to take a peek at that and say, okay, where were things broke? What worked? That kind of stuff. So let's break it down. The components that I think are important when it comes to saying, okay, what did my 2021 look like? What worked? What are you really proud of? I think that is something we should all start with because when you can like celebrate those wins, it doesn't sting as much when you realize the things that didn't go so well. So focus on those wins first. What were they? What were the small? And it could be a variety of things. I mean, don't discount the small things. It could be it could be something as simple as I learned this, or I had this outcome, or I got this many new clients, or I developed a new system for whatever. Don't discount the small things because those are wins and you should definitely validate those. What did you enjoy doing the most in your business? I think this is powerful, and yet so often we don't necessarily look at that. So, what did you enjoy doing the most? Because I think if you really like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Funnel down to whatever it is that you really liked doing the most. Maybe there's a bigger opportunity there than you have previously considered. So figuring out what that looks like for you. What brought the biggest return? In other words, it could be a combination of what's working. Usually it is tied to what's working, right? Because it's tied to the money. But what brought the biggest return in your business? What did you sell the most of? Those types of things, taking a look at what that looked like in 2021. And then what didn't go so well? What did you screw up? Now, I want to say this because I feel like regardless of whether when you say screw up, fail, whatever, remember that there is gold in the failures. I think a lot of times people get hung up on, oh my gosh, I had this, this went south. It was so horrible, or I lost this amount of money, or this, I poured all this time and energy into, whatever, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And you think, wow, those things are fails. They're not. We had a team meeting here internally day before yesterday, and we were looking at our journey, our 2020, 21 journey, both basically the past few years. And, all the things that we, weren't excited about maybe going forward with, were they complete failures. But we realized that a lot of the things that didn't work out the way we wanted them to were basically building blocks for the new things that we're doing, and that we had components that we could cannibalize certain things and move them into the new things. So there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from the failures. There's things that can be pulled from those failures. Really, failing isn't failing, in my opinion. It's just a learning experience, and it's a way to take what you learned, or in some cases, take what you've done and move it into the next thing. So, but again, if you don't look at those things, and honor them, honestly, they're a big part of your future success. So take a look at your failures, and say, well, could why did they fail? Or, can I use this as in some other capacity? But I think that it's super powerful to, like, again, give life to those failures, because they are going to be the building blocks for your next thing. And what did you learn? And sometimes it could be a combination of your successes and your failures. I think we learn from, even successes, like what made that successful, and could we make it more successful? Or, that didn't work so well, is there a lesson in it, or is there a possibility to shift it in some way that would make it more efficient, or a better process, or a better product or service for us? So, what were those learning moments for you? Write those things down. What do you wish you had more of? Now, this could be a combination of things. It could be like, if you're a service provider and you're overwhelmed and you feel like you don't have work-life balance. I personally don't think there's such a thing. I think there's seasons in our business, but everybody has different places in their business, and there's things that they want more of. Maybe it's more family time, or maybe it's more money in their business. Yeah, I mean, it could be a variety of things. What is it though? What do you wish you had more of? What do you wish you had done less of? That's another thing too. I think it's powerful, is like, if you feel like again, if you're a service provider and you're like, wow, I wish I hadn't have catered to those clients that really weren't my perfect person, right? Or I wish I hadn't taken the clients that weren't a good fit for my program or my service. Um, Again, this is going to be different for everybody, but what are those things that you wish you had done less of? And I think this is really, really powerful when it comes to planning forward, is what do you want? Now, and most of the time people look at this through the lens of their business. I want you to step back from your business for a minute and look at your life holistically. Okay. So when I say, what do you want? I mean, what do you want your life to look like? And then if you can decide what you want your life to look like, then you can design your business to revolve around your life and make your business work within the structure of what you want for your life. Now, some people will say, that's not possible, Kim. It is possible. Anything. Hey, I got my t-shirt on, possibility maker. Absolutely anything is possible. You just have to understand what it is you want before you go about building out something that's not going to support what you want. And so often, and I've done this, I've built businesses before where I never gave any focus whatsoever to my life. I focused in on the business, pure and simple. What was it going to take to build the business? And then my life had to come in and fill the holes, not the other way around. So, life lesson. This is a biggie. I've had to learn this the hard way. Design your business in such a way that it supports the life you want. If you want a laptop lifestyle, you can have that. You just have to choose the right business structure, or the right business, or the right products and services, the right marketing method. It could be a variety of those things, or it could be one of those things, depending on what it is you're selling. But I want to look into a couple of the core things. When it comes to life, if it doesn't matter how much money we have or how much money we don't have, honestly, health and wellness impacts the wealthy and the poor in exactly the same way. So again, it doesn't mean, you may say, well, that's not true, because if you're poor, you have better health opportunities. But at the end of the day, if you just break it back down to the very basics, I'll use cancer as an example. Cancer can afflict both the poor and the wealthy, right? And how they deal with it at the end of the day is, if we don't have, and this is my point, is that if we don't have our health, then we don't have a whole lot. It really doesn't matter how wealthy we are. So we have to focus on that. We have to give some space for that. We have to, whether you want to call it self-care, I think it's a combination of eating well. Self-care is absolutely important. But what does that look like? Like, maybe instead of getting up every day and jumping right into work, we go for a walk around the block, or, we take, instead of like, skipping that our lunch because we've got a meeting, we say, well, we're going to book that meeting for later in the day so that we can sit down and have a lunch. Like, right? So there's ways that we can do this. And sometimes it's just a choice, a conscious decision to say, this is a priority for me. And then I have to shift the business to make this a priority. That's the key. Family. If family is important to you, then, what does that look like? In some cases, like as a mama with littles, my business, especially my early businesses, I had, I built my first 7-figure business in my dining room with my littles on playing Legos on the floor. So, what does that look like from a family perspective? So I'll just give you just one quick example. It can be difficult, especially I heard this quite frequently during COVID times when the kids were home, and, mom or dad was trying to build their business and used to the kids being at school, and they were struggling to manage that, And it's true, I think, across the board. So if you're building your business or trying to do things of the evening hours when it's AKA family time, there may need to put some boundaries around you and or them. So maybe if it's like, hey, I need an hour to do X, like, family, I'll take just an hour to do this, and you have to commit to that. Walk away at the hour and leave the work behind and go spend time with family. There's lots of different scenarios where being present, and I think that's the key, is being present in the amount of time that you spend with your family. Because sometimes I think we think we're spending family time, but we're on our phones, still conducting business, and our kids are like, hey mom, hey dad, and we pull our attention grudgingly away from our devices, and what, you know so be present in the moments that you spend with your family. Block time if you need to. But again, structure your business around things that are important to you. If your family time is important, then block your business time separate from your family time. I know it sounds simple. This will be an evolution for sure. If you feel that's you feel like, well, man, she's talking to me or she's talking about me. I have been there. I get it. I know how hard it can be sometimes. But I think it's important. And if we can start to be aware of it and to focus on it and understand that business can operate around the things that are important to us and not be our core focus, that life shifts dramatically in that moment. Maybe friends. I mean, I feel like a lot of times when we're online business owners, that friendships suffer. And so I would like to just challenge you to really step forth in 2022 and re-engage or with past friendships or maybe make new friends. I think that's the other issue too, is surrounding yourself with like-minded people, people who are going to lift you up and support you and raise you up in the space that you're in. There's this old saying that you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. And, that's through that lens, who are your five people, and are they the right five people? When you um, make decisions to spend time with people, you can choose your five people. It doesn't mean, taking or stepping back from somebody that you don't still like them or love them. It's just that you're choosing consciously to surround yourself with people that are going to push you forward on the path that you want and not hold you back from where you want to go. So again, it's a kind of a conscious decision. It sounds a little harsh, maybe, but friends are a powerful component, and they can feed not only our soul and our relationships with even our family. Having good friend sets can be very impactful, not just for you, but also for your families. So friends are, something I think we should really foster, and if it's important to you, make sure that you make time for them in 2022. Faith is another thing. Faith is, if that's, and you can call it whatever you want. I am faith based. I'm not here to preach to you or anything. For you, it might be spirituality. It could be, whatever your uh, inner core, what speaks to your inner core, building that. Some might say it's mindset. Sometimes, there's different terms for it, but I feel like this is a very core component of how we really show up big in the world. So if that's important to you, make time for it and make it, set aside the time. Let your business work around that component as a part of, growing bigger. If you really focus on this, like I say, if it's faith, it could be Bible reading, it could be mindset reading, it could be whatever. Again, drives your inner core. Um, I think you're going to see a massive amount of growth in your, not only your personal life, but in your business life as well. And fun. Let's not forget the fun. Taking the time to have fun. Like right now, I shared earlier, I'm on a plane to go to Colorado. We're going to have a week of skiing with my family, my two boys. My one of my sons is bringing his significant other, so we're going to have just a blast. So I'm like, I'm a pretty good skier, but I've never snowboarded. So I'm going to try snowboarding. Like, I'm a little nervous. I hope I don't break anything, but I'm like, that'll be fun. Now, it might not be, but we're going to give it a go. But what else? Like, how often do we set aside the fun things or not do fun things because we got to work? We got to work. No, make the time. What are the fun things? Plan the fun things. Don't just let the fun hang out there and maybe you'll get around to it. Plan the fun things and make sure that you step into them. Okay, so all that, because that's a big part of the life piece. If you can figure out what it is you want in your life, then you can start to put the pieces together for the business side. So let's focus on the next 90 days. Okay. Now, when we're planning internally here in my business, we usually do this on a 90-day calendar. Now, what we'll usually do, in all transparency, is we do have a big financial goal for the year. And then we just break it into quarters so that we can see what that's going to look like. Essentially, how do we break it up into doable bite sizes? What do we need to do in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, that kind of thing? But we our working document, if that's the best way of saying it, is 90 days at a time. And I think it's super powerful to set aside at least one day to plan. Now, you may say, well, I'm just a solopreneur and I don't know if I need a day. Well, I would say you do, for a variety of different reasons. One, if you go through the workbook, you're going to need to like dig deep, a little deeper, scrape off, some of the things you may not want to look at, and then think bigger in your business. What is that going to look like? And it does take a little bit of time, because it does think us like it's not just a matter of saying, okay, I've got these three things to sell and boom, that's it. It goes deeper. It goes back to, what do you want in your life? What are your financial goals, and how are you going to get there? And specifically, how are you going to get there in the next 30, 90, or 30, 60, 90 days, right? So let's break it down a little bit further, because I think when it comes to planning, there is other things that go into the pile, the consideration pile, we'll call it. What are you not willing to sacrifice on your road to a successful year? Okay. Now, this is powerful because these are things that you may not have thought about or may not have considered. Okay. So we just talked about things that are powerful in our personal lives. Self care. Is that going to be a priority? You're not going to sacrifice that. Is family time something you are not going to sacrifice? You need to determine what these things are and do not cross that line. I'll give you a quick example. And I heard, I, I use my friend Shalene a lot because her boundaries are so solid. So, I once asked her to come speak at one of my events. And she said, no, Kim, I would love to come. But she said, I can't. She said, this is my rule and I just can't do it. I won't violate it. And her rule was that at the time her child was playing football, they had committed to being at every one of his games, and my event overlapped with one of his games. I'm like, I totally get that, and I honor that you are committed to your family. You made that commitment, and you are staying in that zone. You are not willing to. That's what you're not willing to sacrifice. And I was just. It's always stuck with me. That was a great example. And what are those things for you? You need to know those things, because otherwise you're going to have no boundaries in your business and over your personal life. And I'd be willing to bet you, as we go through this little exercise, you're going to say, yep, that's me. And feel free to drop it in the comments if it is like, wow, that is such a problem for me, Kim. So here's, I seemed like I got a little tech issue with my text right there, but I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to go to the gym every day. That might be something you want to say to yourself. That might be a commitment that you're willing to make. Or I'm going to make time for my husband by having at least one date night a month. Be specific on what you're not willing to compromise on. What is those alternatives for that compromise? Like the date night is a big thing, making the time for the personal relationships. And date night could be with your husband, spouse, your significant other. It could be with your daughter, with your son. It could be a friend. It can be anything. Making time for the relationships is the key here. What are some things that you may have done in the past that you are just over? Now, there is power in this, y'all. Power in this. When it comes to your business and making your plans, what are some of the things that you are just, I am not doing that again. Nope, not doing it. So things like, I'm no longer going to work nights and or weekends. Okay, maybe that's part of that fills another hole too. Maybe that's where a lot of your family time is going to be reallocated, right? Or I will not bring on clients that I know are the wrong clients just to meet income goals. Oh, is that like a dagger to the heart there for a hot second? Yeah, so often we do things in our businesses that don't make sense, when it comes right down to it. So you have to draw the lines. What are those things going to be for you? And going forward, when you need to make a tough decision, where do you draw that line? What is your red lines? Maybe that's the best way of saying it. What is your red lines? Where are you? What are you not going to go over, cross over, whatever words you want to use, however way you want to say it. Like, I refuse to answer the phone, text, or emails after business hours. Like, seriously, like, now that we have these devices, it is like crazy because we are never off. Can I get an amen? It's like we're answering emails at like 10 o'clock at night, where people are texting at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, what is happening here? Like, there used to be regular office hours, 9 to 5, and that was when business was conducted. Now it's a free for all. So let's pull the reins back in a little bit and say, okay, maybe that's your red line. Or maybe I'm going to have reasonable customer service hours. And, I'm not going to say I'm going to respond within 30 minutes unless you have a mechanism to do that. Like, in some cases you may have a team and you have people that can respond within that time frame. But the reality is that we have to sleep sometime. We have to eat. We have to have a life, right? So what are your red lines? And again, this is important in the planning processes for your 2022. Take a day. Now, my suggestion is you could do this a couple of different ways. If you have the capability and you can afford it, I highly recommend that you find you a nice place for a day. 2, heck, do a whole week if you feel you need it. Someplace where you can just sit, be still. If you have a team, invite them to come and you can brainstorm together. Whatever that looks like. Now, that could be some fancy spot. It could be your local Hyatt or Holiday Inn or wherever, but go find a place that has where you can have that space, where you're away from your normal working environment, and you can go be still. You could even use, honestly, you use workspaces. There's so many options for this. But finding that space to have that, I call it quiet time, where your brain is not inundated with all the other things that are happening, and you can just be in the moment and have a focus around planning for 2022. That would be obviously the best, and what I would recommend as the preference for your planning day. But let's say that's not realistic, or you have a team that's literally spread out all over the world, like I do, for example. I have a team that's all over the world. We're not going to be able to get together. Most of it's COVID reasons. In some cases, they can't travel because of COVID, and it's just a logistical issue. So one of the things we've done is have what we call small planning sessions. So we break the big plan down or lay it out, and then we have individual planning meetings around the pieces. That might be something you could do as well using Zoom. But the thing that I've found, both work. I feel like if you can do the day somewhere, where you're totally away from your normal environment, I would highly recommend that. But if that's not realistic, you can't do that, then Zoom is another way to do it as well. The only thing that I found the difference, I think, is it's just not as relaxing. There's not as much, because you're still kind of in work mode, and it's not that you're not in work mode when you're at another location. It just feels different. It feels more like, because you're not in your normal workspace. It almost feels like it's just a different vibe. Maybe that's the best way I can say it. It's a different vibe. So it doesn't feel as much like work. Maybe that's the best way of saying it. But the Zoom does still work. We've been able to function very well using this methodology. And then the next thing I want you to think about is, what do you want to achieve in your business? Now, from a goal perspective, we've been talking a lot about life. We've been talking about what do you want, what don't you want? And then, basically some core, like, how do you get started on your planning? Okay. This is the key. And again, I didn't say this, but it's just such a wicked smart quote. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So there's 2 parts of this. There's setting a goal, and then there's putting the plan in place to achieve the goal. If you just set a goal and you don't have a plan to achieve it, when I say a plan, I mean laid out, and it's organized with not just a, hey, I'm going to do this, but it's got a time perspective put onto it. I'm going to give you some example. I'll give you an example in just a moment. But the point is that you're going to need a goal. You're also going to need to come up, reverse engineer the goal, which is your part of it is your plan to get to the outcome that you want. So what do you plan to learn in the new year? That could be a part of your goal set. Like, for example, if you are a social media manager and you know that your people are in dire need of Facebook ads, for example, you may say to yourself, well, that's another skill set that if I really nailed it down and really learned it well, then I could add that as a revenue stream to my business. So that might be something you could plan for as a part of your 2022. But what is your financial goal this year? Now, this is where I really want to focus in on this piece of it, because what I find so often, and I've worked with like literally thousands of people and specifically hundreds of people in my my higher end like masterminds and things like that, trying to help them reverse engineer a financial goal. And I find that this is what usually happens, is that they will say, yep, this is my goal for the year, but they don't really have a plan to reach that goal. So we're going to break this down a little bit and dig into it. When I say break a financial goal down, decide, what do you want to make by the end of 2022? Write it down. What is it? Do you want $100,000? Do you want, maybe you're at a six-figure business and you want to double your business, or maybe you're making, $50,000, but you again would like to double your business. Whatever it is, you need to write it down. And when I say, let's say you're making $50,000 and you want to double it. Well, doubling it is $100K, right? So write the financial goal down, the dollar amount, exactly whatever it is. Okay. That's the first piece of it. Now, the next piece, and I'm going to whisper this to you, because just because that's your financial goal does not mean that's how much money you get to put into your bank account. Because we're business owners and there's business expenses. So even though you might make $50,000 in your business, or $100,000 in your business, or even $1 million in your business, that doesn't mean that's pure profit. In fact, I would say that for most business owners, the profit margins are way less than that amount of money. So if you make $50,000, I would speculate that you probably banked about 30. And if you make 100,000, maybe you banked, I would say 60 to 70, depending on what you ended up outputting. People who are in the $1 million range, again, depending on, how they created that revenue stream. If they're using paid ads, for example, to get that amount of money, then maybe their revenue, their take home from $1 million might be 4 or 5K. In some cases, it might be even a little less, again, depending on how much customer acquisition costs are. So, then you focus on the reality of it. Like, that's not going to be all. I'm not going to be able to put all that money into my bank account. So what do you want to make pure profit so that it can go into your bank account? All right. That's a totally different number. And if you want six figures, then you have to understand that you have to raise that other number, the big number in your business, the sum total number in your business. But again, this is an important piece of information, right? You need to understand what that looks like. And I really want to on this, because I feel like there's so many people who don't step into their possibles. They don't they have such limiting beliefs around their business and themselves that they struggle to set big goals. They struggle to dream big. And honestly, that just breaks my heart a little bit. I won't even lie. But I know it. I know it's a fact. And I want to encourage you to dream big. Set your goals. If you've come up with a financial goal, then all that's left is to come up with a realistic plan to achieve it. That may sound crazy, but that's really where most people break down. So if you can dream it, you can do it. If other people are doing it that are just like you, why can't you do it? It's all in your head. It's all in your head because you can do it. Every one of you have 6-figure, 7-figure businesses in you. Each and every one of you. You just have to believe it and go after it and have a plan to go after it. That's it. I know it sounds like, what? That sounds pretty simple, Kim. And it can be that simple. It starts with this space right here, or the space between the two ears, right? It's all a mind game. Once you've figured out what is your financial goal, write it down. And I would say use sticky notes, because that's one of the things I do is I use sticky notes, and I will put my revenue goals, my big one, and then I put the monthly revenue goals in. What's it going to take? How much am I going to have to make each and every month to achieve that big, hairy end of year goal, right? So whatever it is, write it down, stick it on sticky notes, put them somewhere you can see them. Put them somewhere you can see them. Keep them in front of you, because a big dream needs to be reinforced. You know, if you wake up every day and you can see that financial goal somewhere in your space, and you're like, okay, what do I have to do? Where's my plan? I have to do whatever's on my plan today in order to achieve that financial goal. Keep them in front of you. All right, that brings us to the next part of it. What is your path to the money? What plan do you have to get to the amount of money that you said you want to make? And again, you may have to reverse engineer some of these things on your own, depending on what your model looks like. But what is your plan? Do you have one? So let's break that down. So I'm just going to give you, we're going to use, for example purposes, a 6-figure business. If your income goal is 100K, so often people think that 100K is just undoable. Like, I can't even fathom getting there. But let's break it down. When it comes to low ticket offers, meaning something that's, I'm going to say something's less than $50. If you want to create 100K in revenue in a year's time, you're going to have to sell 167, I'm just going to round it up, 167 of your $50 low ticket offers each and every month. Does anybody think that would be hard to do? The only reason I'm asking if it would be hard to do is, well, I'm going to give you the answer. The short answer is yes, it could be hard to do unless you have a consistent marketing strategy in place, meaning you are probably using paid ads to achieve your $50 sale. So are you going to make $50 every time you create that sale? No. How much is it going to cost you to create that sale? A percentage of that money is going to go into your Facebook ad budget, right? Which means it's lost money essentially. But you do have a paying customer at that point, which you can nurture into higher ticket things for sure. But this strategy can be a little more difficult. And if you don't have money to spend on paid ads, or you don't necessarily know how, that could again be a barrier to entry for achieving your financial goal of $100,000. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's take a look at something that's higher ticket priced. Let's say your income goal is $100,000. If you had a $5,000 high ticket offer, and you want to make $100,000, you have to sell roughly 1 to 2 a month. Maybe 1 month you sell one, The next month you sell 2 so that your averages balance out. Does that sound more doable than trying to sell 167 $50 products? And you may say, well, selling only one does sound like it's a little easier, but who's going to pay $5,000 for something? The right people for the right thing. That's who. People do it each and every day. If you don't have a high ticket offer, you need one. You absolutely need one. The low ticket offers are great for, acquiring paying customers. But if you want to make big money, you really need a high ticket offer. If you don't have one, I highly recommend that you make that maybe a priority for your 2022. Again, which one of those roads is easier? Which one feels easier to you? Is it the low ticket offer where you're going to have to sell, more, or is it, something that's going to be a higher ticket price? Lots of times when I am helping like social media managers, for example, and they'll be like, well, yeah, I want a 6-figure business. I'm like, well, you only need 5 or 6 clients, paying clients a month to have that. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's all about the price point. It's all about the package you put in front of them. It's all about the offer and making sure that offer is something that people want. And then you don't have to work near as hard to achieve your financial goal. It becomes a much easier process. But let's break it down. And I'd love it if you drop in your thing. Drop in, what is it you plan to sell in 2022? Is it a digital course? Is it a speaking gig? Is it done for you services? Are you a coach? Are you going to do workshops? Are you going to sell somebody else's stuff, become an affiliate for them? Maybe add a VIP experience to something you already have. What is your plan for 2022 as it relates to making money? What is your thing? What are you selling? What is it, a product? Is it your time? Is it your knowledge? What do you plan to sell in 2022? Like I say, I would love to hear from you. Drop it in to the comment area. But this is really something else that I want to focus in on and key in on. And I've had to learn this lesson the hard way over and over and over again. And every time I think I've learned it, I forget that I've learned it. Have you ever had one of those situations where you're like, wow, I thought I'd learned that lesson already? So I'm going to encourage you to pick your one thing. And I would encourage you to, hopefully when I gave you the example of the low cost things and the high cost ticket, or the high ticket offer versus the low ticket offer, it's much easier to sell, the high ticket offer, less friction, etc. But what is your one thing? What is the one, I'm going to just say it, high ticket offer that you're going to focus on in 2022? I'm not the only one who's going to say this to you. You've probably heard others say it as well. In fact, every successful business owner will tell you the way that they reached success was by focusing on the one thing. Now, when I say one thing, it's one thing until you get it to a success rate. Like if your success rate or your success measuring stick is get my whatever to $1 million in revenue, then that's my success. And then you can add other revenue streams, right? In fact, most successful people will tell you should have at least 7 income streams in your business, but they don't really focus on those other 6 revenue streams until they get the one revenue stream totally up and operational. So what's your one thing that you're going to focus on in 2022? And this is the giveaway. I'm going to be giving away 2 of the One Thing books today. This is an amazing book. If you've not read it yet, I highly recommend that. If anything I've said about focusing makes sense to you, then this is an amazing book to read and really cement the concept of the one thing. But what's the one thing that you can do, such by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? We are doing all the things, guys. We are trying to do all the latest shiny objects. We're out there hustling our butts off, and most are not getting the financial reward because they're not focused on one thing, with one delivery mechanism, with one marketing methodology. Because we're trying to do all the things, all the latest shiny social media things. We're trying to sell all the things in our business versus focusing on the one thing. What is that one thing for you? So choose one way you can plan to make money and reverse engineer what has to happen to get to the dollars. So just like I showed you, the 100K is your goal. How much of your one thing do you have to sell to get to that one thing? I mean, to get to that dollar or to the amount of money that you want to make. So a plan is the what. So what is your plan? A schedule is when. It takes both a plan and a schedule to get things done. So if your financial goal is whatever it is, the big hairy goal at the end, then break it down. How much do you have to make each and every month in order to meet that big financial goal? Then plan out what has to happen in what time frame. Again, we base ours off of a 30-day window. Every 30 days, what has to happen within that time frame. So it takes both of those things. You can't leave it open-ended, because then how are you going to know for sure you have reached success? That's what so many people are doing. They're just like, well, if I get there, I get there. That's not a plan, right? So here's my $1 million plan for 2022. I'm just going to show it to you. My one thing is my Design to Scale program. I left the E off of monetize there. I'm not sure why I did that, but monetizing, getting 5 new clients in the first 30 days, 6 paying clients in the next 30 to 90 days, 15 new clients in the next 90 to 125 or 120 days. And then I'm really going to scale up my program over the course of towards the end of the year. And that's you can see it's a very specific plan. I've got a timeline associated with it. I have a strategy to put one marketing methodology to meet my goals. That's my plan. This is what I'm saying. If you can do exactly the same thing for your business, lay it out, put a dollar amount to each block of time that you have, and then know what it is you're doing to meet those financial goals, then your 2020 will look totally different than your 2021. Put those timelines on it. Put it on the calendar. I use Google Calendar myself. If it's not on Google, it doesn't happen, kind of thing. But you can use any calendar if you prefer one that you write on. It's totally cool to use any type of calendar whatsoever. Just like I say, Google is great for us because it's integrated. Everybody on the team has access to it, that kind of thing. But whatever works for you, but put it on the calendar and just say to yourself, well, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. You'll start to live by that mentality. You'll start to implement, you'll start to do the things. And you'll stop worrying. You won't wake up every day and say, well, what am I supposed to be doing today? Because you planned it out. You know what you're doing. And you can start grinning and having lovely days instead of the frowny faces, right? But this is the thing I want to leave you with. If you're 21, I would even say, well, this is going to sound so harsh, but if you haven't gotten to where you want to go, and maybe you've been in business 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and every year you just roll into the next year with no real plan, then you might even have a business that's more of a hobby than a business. Or if, you are going into every year, again, without a plan. My point is, I don't want you to get to the end of 2022, going into 2023, and be exactly the same place you are today. I'm going to leave that there for just a second. If you feel like you're not as far along as you would like to be, based on the time that you've been in business, then it is time to make a different plan. and or maybe just make a plan. Um, that's really what I want you to focus in on, is understanding that if you've been down this road before, like, if you've been in business for a few years, you haven't had a plan, then it's time to make the plan, and it's time to take some action, because that's really what it takes. It takes taking a plan. Nothing happens until you move, and I would even argue that nothing changes unless you change something. So maybe it's time to change some things, put your focus into some perspective, put a plan in place, and get stepping on it. I hope this has been helpful for everybody. I know that this is one of those things that nobody really likes to talk about. Nobody really likes to plan. No, I mean, I don't. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I don't like to slow down long enough. And honestly, just being a creative, from that perspective, I find that the planning days for me are a little tedious. I'm like, okay, so now a lot of times what we'll do is we'll have vision meetings where I'm a part of the vision meeting. That's a part of the planning process. And then the team will take that and break it down into the implementation pieces. Now, I know I'm blessed. Maybe you don't have that yet. You will have that if you can grow your business to a level that is, where you want it to be. But if that's not where you are, and you feel like, well, Kim, I can relate with what you just said, because planning is not something I love to do, but force your way through it, because it will make such a big difference, in your business, if you can just come up with a plan and the strategy. Like, for me, it's been, every time I've really focused on the one thing, it has made such a difference in my business. In 2022, I'm going to focus on design to scale. And, I'm going to help people who have a knowledge base that want to sell it with a done for you model, or a done with you model. Sorry, a done with you model with one marketing strategy. So, stop all the things. Let's just do this one thing. So that's kind of my plan. But what's yours? How are you going to go forward in 2020 with something that's different, that's going to help you achieve something you haven't achieved yet? So let me know. I want to know what your intentions are. And is there any way I can help? Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. I hope I can stay safe and I don't break any bones this week while I'm gone. And I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Until then, stay safe.